All right, awesome. We are going to get started. We're going to go to Juneau first, where we have Meghan Tabacek. She's the executive director of Trail Mix down there, which does a lot of work in the city of Juneau, but also on adjacent Forest Service lands. I'm sure Meghan will have some interesting insights of what is happening in her world. You should be able to share, Meghan, if you want to share your screen to share any materials,
Awesome.
but let me know if you have trouble.
Okay, can everyone see what I've got going on the screen right now? Perfect. Great. Thank you so much for having me, Haley. And I wish I was there in person, but our season starts on Monday, so it was a little bit of a stretch to travel with all of our crew leads coming in. But I'm super excited for the work we've got ahead of us, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Trail Mix has been up to and what's coming up for us. So I'm Megan. I'm the director of Trail Mix. I'm just coming up on just over a year now in this position, but I've been at Trail Mix since I started as a crew member in 2020. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, some of our highlights from last year, and what's coming up this year, as well as some of our programs that we do. So, if you're not familiar with Trail Mix, we began in 1993 as a purely volunteer-led effort. The city in 1992 identified that it was really important to have a nonprofit or third-party group that could coordinate and execute improvements. As I'm sure it's very similar in places where you are all from, there's a lot of different land managers here in Alaska, and sometimes when you're hiking on a trail, you go from city to state to private, all within the same, 4 to 5 mile trail. So Trail Mix in Juneau really came about because our trails were suffering. You'd cross over that invisible boundary, and all of a sudden the trail will be a different condition. So we really exist to create trails that are all maintained to the same standard and facilitate partnerships between agencies. And we strive to also just be the go-to trail resource for Juneauites. We advocate for stronger trail systems here and also do community events. So I work with a really great team year round. Alex Pear, who's our engagement coordinator, and then Nick Marinelli and Mark Crumweedy, who are our trail coordinators. It's been really exciting the past couple of years. 5 years ago, it used to just be a director and no one else full time. So I'm really, really happy that we've grown capacity wise and now have staff. So I'm not alone in the office all year. So we have some really neat partnerships that I want to highlight. The first of which is Youth Employment and Parks. This program was actually based off the program that started in Anchorage and modeled heavily off of the success there. And I'm hoping we're continuing the success here in Juneau. So the Youth Employment and Parks program provides jobs and life training skills for students with disabilities age 14 through 19. And that can be physical or intellectual disabilities. And this has been really cool for us because we've been learning a lot about one, what makes a trail accessible, and then two, how can we make trail work accessible for all people to participate in? So it's been really exciting coming up with really clever workarounds using grip hoists and all sorts of different tools to navigate some of the strengths and weaknesses of the team. This has also been really cool. So for our program, what we do is we work with Southeast Alaska Independent Living, the Zach Gordon Youth Center, and then Trail Mix. So we provide two crew leads, and then Sale and the Zach both provide a crew lead themselves. So we've got 4 staff running the crew and then 8 to 10 students. And for 8 weeks, we pair up and we go and work on trails. And then Fridays are our fun days with YEP. That's when we practice life skills. So sometimes that's making resumes, working on interview prep, but other times it's things like getting on sea kayaks and going out on Auk Lake. So this is a really cool program, and we've actually seen some success with this being a feeder program into Trail Mix itself. So we've had 2 or 3 students who have gained a lot of skills, graduated from the program, and have come on and worked at Trail Mix as crew members for the whole season. So that's been really unique too. We also work with lots of different recreational groups, agency partners, and then some of my favorite events that we do are community connection events like Hike for a Pint and National Trails Day. Hike for a Pint was started 5 years ago at the start of the pandemic. People were getting out on trails like never before seen. And also, local businesses were having a really hard time because no one could go into breweries or ice cream shops. So, actually, a community member contacted us with this great idea of what if you got a passport and you hiked 5 hikes and punched your little passport at these boxes And then once you completed your passport, you could turn it in either for a pint of beer or a pint of ice cream at our partners. And then at the end of the event, Trail Mix actually reimburses all of our partners for the price of beer and the ice cream. So it's kind of a supporting local businesses and supporting trails at the same time. So this summer is really exciting. We're celebrating our 5th year of this, and we do a summer and a winter version each year. And then for our trail work, which is kind of the bread and butter of what we do, we focus on workforce development, maintaining trails, as well as constructing new trails. And as I'm sure wherever you are, things get really, really brushy. So we do a lot of brushing as well here, about 50 to 70 miles each year annually we brush. And then we also work in different advocacy spaces where we fit in. So like the Tongass Regional Forest Plan, working with the Tongass Rec Partnership as well. So in 2024, we had a really big season for us. We improved 15 different trails, had 25 crew members, and brushed 50 trails. So it was a big year, and it was really fun, and we got a lot done. We work with a variety of land managers who were working with the Forest Service and the city mostly last year, and we stretched ourselves and learned a lot of new skills. So we've become pretty good at building bridges, I'd like to say, over the past couple of years. And last year we put in some of our biggest yet. So this was a 52-foot bridge that we installed last year on the Treadwell Ditch. And this was really exciting because this was the final bridge that connects. This is a 14.5 mile trail that spans most of Douglas Island here in Juneau. And it was originally built as a mining trail with access to the Treadwell Ditch, which funneled water. So by placing this bridge, it was actually the first time that this trail has been connected in 100 years. So that was really cool for us. And this is also one of our peak volunteer projects over the past 6 to 8 years. Our volunteer trail maintenance team, which is a group of retired guys and one gal who go up, and they go up every Monday and Thursday. They put in over 5,000 volunteer hours last season. They are unstoppable, and it's been really cool coordinating between them and our crews. And really fun. And then last year, we also started dabbling in bike park building. So Gary Passage from Senscapes down in Oregon came up and taught a clinic with us, and we learned how to build some really cool jumps and structures. So that's been a cool tool to add into our tool chest, is learning how to make bike-friendly trails and also bike features that are fun to go off of. Another thing we've gotten very familiar with is over the past 5 years that I've been with Trail Mix, it's only gotten wetter and rainy in Juneau, and we've had more and more frequent weather events. One of those being lots of rain. So we've been doing a lot of work with gabion baskets. If you haven't worked with these before, I am really warming up to them. I really like them now. They're basically large metal cages that you fill with rock, and then you backfill them. We ended up adding a little more to kind of cap this off there. And these just help prevent this side, this very soft side of the trail, from eroding right into Gold Creek. So this has been really interesting. We've been finding a lot of practical applications, not only to use these as stream bank stabilizations, but also for very small bridges as like a source of abutment and stability on some of the bridges. So these have definitely been a big tool in our toolbox, and we're going to continue using them the next couple of years. I think we're actually installing close to 25 more of them further up the bank this season. And then we've also done a lot of work with the Audubon Society, and we're starting work on the 35-mile off-road vehicle park. This is the first off-road vehicle park in Southeast Alaska, and it's been close to 20 years in the making, actually. So it's been really cool actually seeing progress happen on this. And it's been a huge learning for us because normally as trail workers, we focus on taking mud off of trails, but we've been working with the Juneau Off-Road Association, and they want the mud on the trails. So it's been really fun learning how to build mud pits and like climbing boulders and all sorts of things. And it's also really broadened our skill set because we're working with some really big machines out there. This year we have a new one coming in called the Hydrema. It's an articulated dumper. So we're super stoked about that. Yeah, but it's really, really fun working on this variety of projects. And we really focus on trying to make sure that every user group in Juneau has an opportunity to recreate. And so we're really excited to get working on the 35-mile vehicle park. And then kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about today is our Trail Stewards program. This is very similar to the Alaska Trail Stewards, so it's great to see stewardship across the state and such great volunteer forces. So, for ours, our primary goals are connecting with community organizations, creating a consistent volunteer force, improving more trails than we could with just our paid crews, and then also engaging and educating trail stewards on why we build trails, how we build them, and why trails are important to the community. So for these events, we pretty much book out close to every Saturday and different groups, whether it's corporations who want to do like a work day with their team or the Girl Scouts, She Jumps, all sorts of different groups will sign up for days. And the original intent of this that we've stuck with, we try and pair people up with trails that mean something to them. So last year we worked with staff at the NOAA facility, and right behind their facility was a trail. And so we worked with them over the summer to improve the trail since all of them like to go on that to hike at lunch. So it was really fun. We try and connect people with trails that they care about. We provide all the tools, the safety gear supplies, and we do a little training at the start of the day, and then we go from there. We typically work with our volunteers from like 9 to 3 on volunteer days. Yeah, but it was, I was our volunteer coordinator in 21, and it's been really cool just getting to know the community better. I really enjoy volunteer events. And one thing that we really like to do with our volunteer events is work in tandem with our paid crews. So this is out at the Lena Point Trail. We had these stairs and this boardwalk. This was getting really slippery, really scary. And if you look behind or underneath it, the ground actually isn't that bad. So it didn't really need a boardwalk. And so it was a really fun partnership where our volunteers tore out the boardwalk and added the gravel. And then our crew came in, our paid crew, and they readjusted the steps, built some of these retaining structures, and then the volunteers came in the following weekend and added the final touches of gravel. So we really like these projects where crew can also benefit from volunteers and it takes a little weight off their shoulders so they can focus on other tasks. And here are just some more photos of smiling volunteers and smiling crew members. And for this upcoming season, we're really excited. We're going to have 3 crews again this season. So about a team of 15 to 20 working with us. And we're working on mostly city projects this year, as I'm sure many of you have been impacted by federal freezes and things like that. So unfortunately, we had to pull back on some of our Forest Service work, but we're excited we're still able to get out on 1 or 2 Forest Service trails this season, and then a lot of city trails as well. And then lastly, this is just a beautiful trail. And that is all. I have to run pretty shortly to another meeting, but I would love to talk more if any of you have questions or want to connect up. Here is our email right there and our website, and we're also on social media as well. Also, Haley, you're on
Yep.
mute.
One
Thanks.
question before we lose
Yeah.
you. Thank you for fitting us into your day. How many pints?
Ooh, so many pints. Typically, we redeem about 150 per event, and we do it twice a year for 5 years. So we're probably in the like 600, 700 pint range. And
Awesome.
I'd say it leans mostly towards the beer.
It'd be interesting to see a pie chart of beer to ice cream choices.
Yeah,
Um, right on. Thank you so much for being here, Megan. Folks, if you have questions for Megan, reach out via social media. They actually have really rad social media. They do a great job of telling the story of what Trails Mix does in Juneau, or via email. Thanks, Megan. We
awesome.
appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great rest of the conference.
All right, I'm going to got a couple other folks in the queue, one of which is also online. Brandon, are you ready to chat with us?
I am, yeah. How's it going, everybody?
Awesome. Brandon is joining us from the Kenai Watershed Forum and going to give us an update of stuff that's happening down there. You're a little quiet, so I might have you see if you can speak up into your mic a bit, but please
You
take it
got
away.
you. Sounds good.
That's good. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Brandon.
Sweet. Is everybody seeing this all right?
Yeah, it looks great.
Awesome. Cool. Let's see. How about now? Still good? Or do you see like my presenter view, or do you see like the actual
We
real
can see
view?
the secret sauce. We can see the next slide up there.
How about now?
Better.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Sorry, I always have issues with that one for some reason.
Yeah,
But
good.
nice to meet you guys. I'll be talking about the Streamwatch Volunteer Program today. The Streamwatch Volunteer Program is the program that I coordinate, and you can see kind of our nice list of partners down below there. No, let's see if it wants to. There we go. All right. So what is Streamwatch? Streamwatch, as I kind of just mentioned a little bit before, is a volunteer-based program that was actually founded before the Kenai Watershed Forum in 1994. Streamwatch focuses on habitat protection, restoration, peer-to-peer education, and just, supporting high-use areas around the Kenai Peninsula, which, of course, a lot of which involve and include trails and trail systems there. There are two main ways for folks to get involved in the program. There's our ambassador side of the program, which is where volunteers go through a 6-hour training that's either offered in person or online. They get to know everything they need to know about the program, including history, safety procedures, site-specific regulation, things like that. And then after that training, they get a volunteer uniform, which I'm kind of wearing right now, including a baseball cap, but figured that might be a little rude for our conference. And then they are allowed to schedule with coordinators. There's a coordinator on our end and a coordinator on the Forest Service side of things. And then after that, they can go out individually. They can do patrols of these high-use sites. They clean up litter on trails, do peer-to-peer education with the public and a lot of educational messaging there. And then also just anything else that site owners need us to do or anything agreed upon before the season begins. And then we also do stewardship days, which is where we have a large group of untrained volunteers. And because staff is present at those events, volunteers don't need to go through training. And those events are usually focused around, larger scale events, whether that be large litter cleanups, large trail work events. That's where most of our restoration projects come in. And then we also do invasive species control as well. So, a little history about the program. As I had mentioned, it was founded by the Forest Service and a handful of community members in 1994. It was actually founded to address the significant damage seen by over-tourism at the Russian River, which I'm hoping most folks here know. Seems like most folks are in state and would know about the Russian River that's up in Cooper Landing here. These are some historical photos of the vegetation trampling that happened at that site, which of course caused further erosion, which caused the Russian River to widen in some areas and get shallower in others, which caused a concern for fish passage. It also, depleted the amount of food available for juvenile salmon and trout, and just a myriad of other ecological issues that kind of come with this loss of vegetation and, increased erosion. So what happened is those initial volunteers in the Forest Service went out, they replanted with native species that you see there today, and then they also implemented that hardened walking anglers trail that a lot of folks see. So some areas are kind of rubber matting, and then other areas are elevated light penetrating walkways so that plant life can continue to grow and thrive there. After which the volunteers said, we want to keep having a positive influence. We want to make sure that, these areas are still seeing growth and improvement and that people know what's going on, how else can we help? And that's kind of what the program turned into today. It's kind of what I talked about on that previous slide there. And eventually grew so large that the Kenai Watershed Forum adopted the program over in 2011. Now we run it jointly with the Forest Service, and they handle most of their Chugach kind of area sites. And then we handle most of the sites that are just owned by various partners throughout the Kenai Peninsula. These are a few results from this season. I won't go through every number specifically, but some things to mention here are that this year in 2024, which our season usually runs from mid-May to end of September, we actually hit records in the amount of volunteer hours completed through the program. We also set a new record for the amount of public contacts, and majority of these contacts are actually volunteers doing individual conversations with folks on the river, and not so much like big group presentations. Like I don't count my big group presentations in public contacts. These are all kind of volunteer-centered contacts. And then finally, we set records in the amount of cigarette butts collected from the Kenai Peninsula. So that's just a little piece of information we started collecting in 2017 because a lot of folks don't know that they have a little bit of plastic in the filter there. So we, keep this number to kind of educate people on, how many little bits of plastic are being left behind and how we're doing to clean those up. This is a little bit of that information compared to the last decade of the program. The main things to note here are that our volunteer hours are continually rising. Almost every year on an average, they're growing and growing and growing. But as you can kind of see on those two graphs on the bottom there, our amount of fishing line collected and our amount of trash collected from high-use sites has kind of evened out. It doesn't seem like we're having a lot of growth every year or anything like that. And you can also see that our public contacts have risen in the top right there. What I kind of see through this data, and I haven't done any, super deep data analysis through like our studio or anything, but what this kind of shows me is that we're putting in more and more effort to clean up the same amount of trash at our high-use sites every year. And from anecdotal data with volunteers and then just this data here, it's been shown that less trash is being seen on our trails and that our high-use sites are on the peninsula. And a lot of this is kind of light material, wrappers, beer cans, things like that. So because those volunteers are kind of building that capacity and then, kind of coming up with the same amount of litter, we think that, we're kind of instilling this culture of stewardship throughout the Kenai Peninsula where folks are hoping to take better care of their natural areas and we see less trash. Some highlights from the ambassador side of the program are we actually had a program high. We trained 79 individuals to be trained ambassadors with the program that go out on individual time. We added 2 new supply sheds. So when volunteers go out for their individual patrols, they stop at a supply shed like you see in the top right-hand corner there. There's data sheets in there for them to track their time, the amount of litter they collected, the amount of folks they talked to. There's also materials in there that they might need, like, bear spray, other safety equipment, trash pickers, bags, things like that. So pretty awesome there. We installed one at the Russian River ferry, and then we installed one down at Kasilof Beach because we've had more and more folks wanting to get involved with the marine side of things. We also had 1,995 hours donated to the program. And this is just individual folks going out as ambassadors, not folks from our large stewardship days. So almost 2,000 hours donated to the program just by individuals going out on their own. We also tried to integrate more volunteer opinions through volunteer surveys, and then also doing individual meetings with folks to make things a little bit more clear, such as like going through our volunteer manual from a volunteer's perspective. And then also we had a lot of educational booths and community outreach. A lot of times, when folks are accessing the Russian River Anglers Trail or accessing other popular trails throughout the Kenai Peninsula, it's really awesome to have a booth, which is just, folding table with some educational materials, a couple of volunteers there that might be preparing some fishing line we've collected to be recycled or just kind of hanging out, connecting with folks. It does a really great way of reaching out with people, making sure to touch base with them on how to properly care for our natural areas and our trails before heading out on these adventures. And then it also gives us a chance to check in with them when they come back, if it's an out and back trail, and see how much of a good time they had, see if they have any input, see if they have any improvements or anything they noted on the trail that we could address later on. Some highlights from our stewardship side of things are we did a lot of marine and riparian cleanups. One of the most notable ones there is Trash Exercise Tuesday, which is where we go out on Kasilof Beach during the dip net season and through 10 hours of volunteering, so 5 weeks of 2-hour cleanups once a week. We actually picked up 1,657 pounds of trash from that high-use site there. We also do group line cleaning days, which is where folks clip hooks and weights off of fishing line to prepare fishing line to be sent out to be recycled, which is the picture in the top right hand there. And that's also a great way to do outreach and education. A lot of folks come up there and saying, hey, what's this? What do you guys got going on before they head across on the ferry to go fish the Russian or head down a trail there. We also had some habitat restoration projects, invasive species removal projects. We've done a lot of pairing with new organizations. And then one thing that we find is super important is volunteer educational days, because educating the public on how to properly care for these areas is super important. We want to make sure our volunteers are well informed and our volunteers have a lot of tools in their tool belt on different educational topics they can kind of pull out and talk to folks about. One of the highlights of this year from an educational day was the Kenai Indian tribe was nice enough to give us a private tour of their Kabuk interpretive site. So we went out there and learned a little bit about the culture and history of the area. And not only does this help, provide volunteers with things that they're interested in and getting them engaged in the program, but it also, having more topics available to them can make it easier for them to make that connection with somebody they meet on the river. Not everybody is interested in the same stuff. I'm really interested in fish. Some people might be very interested in birds or, the history and culture of the area. And, having different things to talk about and different topics can kind of create that connection for folks so that they then want to care for that area more than they may have wanted to previously. We also have a junior stream watch program, which is very similar to our regular stream watch program, but it works on engaging high school age students, 13 to 18. So we do go out with them on an individual basis, but staff is with them all the time just to make sure everybody's safe and having a good time. And then we also do large group events with groups from the lower 48. So usually those days are about half education and half stewardship. We really love to have these groups for restoration projects and trail work and things like that. They just have a lot of energy. They're always excited about it. They love getting hands-on. So the picture you see in the top right-hand corner there, that's us before we went out and did some trail brush clearing with the Forest Service and getting the Russian River Falls Trail all neat and tidy for a bunch of folks that are going to go out there. And, those kids were really excited, and it's really great to kind of put that culture of stewardship in a younger generation so that they kind of grow up and have that knowledge as they're going through life. This is just a showing of how many folks we paired with for special volunteer events throughout the year. This isn't necessarily folks that funded the program, but just folks that we paired with, whether it be for a stewardship day, an educational day, or some sort of volunteer event. Just want to show that, we're trying to include as many different opinions and as many different viewpoints as possible, because again, it kind of allows us to work with everybody, allows us to understand everybody's perspective and kind of what they want in a natural area, what they want in a trail, and how that kind of connects to them. This is showing the different funders that help to support the Streamwatch program, whether it be through in-kind donation or cash funding through grants. Just showing again that we have a lot of wide support through the program, whether it be from, oil companies or state agencies or, just granting agencies and organizations like that. Moving forward with the program, we're looking for some short-term goals and some long-term goals. Short-term goals is raise the number of ambassadors at Southern Peninsula sites. So areas kind of farther south on the Kenai Peninsula still get a lot of awesome trail use and a lot of folks using out there, but a lot of our volunteers seem to love the areas up in the Chugach and up higher in the peninsula. So kind of getting more of that excitement farther down south. We also want to continue to expand our volunteer partnerships for volunteer opportunities so that they get as many experiences as possible. The program still feels new to them. And then obviously installing more caches to breed more involvement. I've seen that one of the huge drivers to getting folks out to doing individual work is just having supplies easily available to them. So installing more of these caches, getting areas where volunteers can more easily go out and do some stewardship can really help get them involved and get a lot more action at some of those areas farther south. Some long-term goals is to continue to see a decline in litter accumulation at our high-use sites across the peninsula. Most sites are seeing improvement. There are some sites that are kind of staying steady there, so continuing to connect with folks and see that decline. We also want to diversify the viewpoints provided by the program, which I kind of talked about earlier. And then we also want to specialize messaging to apply to various user groups. So, the program started addressing fishermen, but we're well aware that, not everyone that comes to these sites are always going fishing. Some people are there to bird. Some people are there strictly just to hike, not just hike down the trail to go fishing, anything like that. So, finding different ways to connect with different user groups so that they also want to care for these natural areas and continue to see that going forward. Thank you so much for letting me speak. And if anybody has any questions, I'll Love to hear.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're muted.
There we go. Awesome. Does anyone have a question for Brandon? No? I learned a ton about your program. I actually didn't realize it was so extensive. So thank you so much for presenting. It's great to have you here and we hope to work more with you in the future. Good luck with the summer.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. You as well.
Yeah, awesome. Our last roundtable update from the state participant is in the room. Randy Goodwin's here from Fairbanks, from the Interior Alaska Trails and Parks Foundation. Randy, I'm going to give you the mic to take us away. You should be good, but if you'll stand here, then the people online will be able to see you.
All right. Well, I know you guys, it's late in the afternoon and you're probably PowerPointed out, so I'll be brief here. I do not have a PowerPoint. I'm just gonna ramble on here for a little while and you guys can get up and walk out when you're ready. So my name is Randy Goodwin. I am representing the Interior Alaska Trails and Parks Foundation in Fairbanks. We are a small nonprofit organization. One of the things that makes us a little bit different is that we're not membership based. We have a board of directors that runs the program. We're relatively young. About 2018 is when the nonprofit started. Our goal, our mission statement is the Interior Alaska Trails and Parks Foundation advocates to develop, maintain, and promote a year-round trails and parks system in the greater Fairbanks area and beyond. The foundation will promote cooperation between all the users of trails and parks in our community. And so we're a trail advocacy. We want to promote the use and access to public lands. And one of the things that we're doing to promote that is organizing trail work parties for the land management groups. We've done some work for BLM and state parks, as well as the Borough Parks and Recreation Program. We're supporting the trail programs. We have an Alaska Trails tool trailer up in Fairbanks for people to check out tools and things for projects. We also support them through providing for the volunteer groups and stuff. We do lunches and snacks, water, and sometimes barbecues after the project, those type of things to entice the volunteers to come out. And we're providing some funding for trails and park projects and improvements. To fund these, one of the things, we're not a government donation. We don't get government grants. We're private donations. And so one of the big things that we can do is provide seed money for like the RTP grants and things like that. So people that need a little startup money to get a project rolling, that's where we can come in and help with that. So I think one of the big strengths that we have with the foundation is that we have a multi-user group. We have off-roaders that are involved with the group, hunting parties, hikers, skiers, dog mushers, mountain bikers. And so I think we've got a good mix of supporters on that. We've been able to do volunteer projects with BLM where we're I know this is a little far south for you guys, but or farther north than you guys are, but we had one of our hiking trails was heavily impacted through the use of ATVs a few years ago. It was a BLM trail, and we were able to bring both the motorized community as well as the hiking community together and to go in and replace boardwalk and do a lot of trail reparation, reseeding, and things like that on about 5 miles of trail. And so I thought that was one of the big strengths of being able to bring multi-users together. We've been doing some projects like brushing and things for BLM. We provided funding for trailhead displays and kiosks to the boroughs. One of the ongoing projects that we've been working on is brushing the Alaska Dog Musher Trail race trails up there in Fairbanks. There's I think around 25 miles, and we've done close to 20 miles of brushing. We have a little bit left to finish up. We've been participating in some of the clinics for dog mushing and ski joring clinics, talking about safety. And I think if you're in the dog mushing community, you heard here a winter or two ago, there was an accident on the Denali Highway where a snowmobiler hit a dog team, things like that. So we're working to help promote getting the little LED lights on the lead dogs and putting reflector collars and stuff on dog teams and things like that to help them be identified in headlights and stuff like that. So one of the newer things that we've started doing is last year we started up a small grant program. We do $10,000 grants to trail projects. These are user-directed projects. So if somebody had a project in the area, we could help get some funding to them and get some seed money going, as well as organizing volunteer groups. One of the projects that we have coming up here is we're working with Alaska State Parks to do a National Trails Day project out on the Chena River State Recreation Area, the Mastodon Trail. We're going to do brushing and support that project for the first couple miles, providing snacks and water and maybe even a barbecue, but certainly tools and bringing some other volunteers along to help along with that. Some of the grants that we've issued in the past have gone towards clearing the race trails for the Dog Mushing Association, providing new signing for the UAF ski trail and frisbee golf course up there. It's still kind of a young program, so we're still trying to get people to participate and recognize it and things like that. But Mastodon Dome Trail or Mastodon Trail project is coming up. We've got a trail brushing project in Nome Creek Valley, a couple of those, as well as continuing to brush the race trails. So kind of in our future, we're hoping to partner more with Alaska Trails as an interior partner, maybe bring the conference up north here in the next year or two. We've had that in the past. I think John and I were talking 2006 was the last time we had a trails conference up in Fairbanks. And so maybe next year we might be able to pull off something up there. As well as some getting together and partnering with training opportunities, getting trail crews. There are some local groups that work out of there and stuff and providing training and those type of things. We just obtained insurance, liability insurance for our group. That was a big hurdle for us. I just signed the papers here a couple days ago, so we're going to get some coverage for that. What that allows us to do, though, is proceed and pursue partnerships with the land management agencies like state parks and BLM and some of the other land management agencies, the borough and things up there. And that's going to give us a little bit more clout in being able to bring volunteers in and organize volunteer work groups and things like that. We're hoping to improve our name recognition. Being a young group, the foundation's still kind of looking for some name recognition out there and stuff. So we have a website and a Facebook page that we do things and post pictures on. Looking for new donations since we are a private sector donation. We're doing the Pick, Click, Give, as well as some of the other name things to get donations from the public. I think one of the big things that we want to do is support sustainability opportunities with trails and parks in the future. And we're doing that through what I've mentioned here, the training programs, the conferences and things like that. So that's my spiel.
Thank you.
Any questions or thoughts? Well, we have a webpage, iatpf.org will take you there. And there has links to our Facebook page and stuff like that that would get you into some of those things. Yeah, mostly we use Facebook. Our partnership with the state parks, they're putting out flyers and stuff like that to advertise the projects. And well, that's what I had had several conversations with Steve here over the last couple of months, and so we're changing players a little bit, and Haley and I have talked, and We're going to try and get together to talk about a conference next year and how we can partner to expand a little bit farther north.
You ever do the little grants that you're doing? It sounds like you must have a benefactor or something like that if you're all privately funded.
Well, we've set aside some funds to do this. So we have a kind of a different groups of funding and things. And again, it's a small grant program. $10,000 doesn't go too far, but it's enough to get things started. Even if it's just planning, doing environmental work, getting permits, things like that. It's help keep things going, and it could be a multi-year project too. So we could do 10,000 each year for several years to get things going. Yeah, they're from the private sector. Click, pick, give. We've had some folks that when they reach the age and they have to do their RMD, we get some donations from that as tax write-offs and things. We're always soliciting funding and things, but again, we're small, so we're trying to grow, mature a little bit and things like that. One of the issues is our board is, I'm looking around, there's a lot of gray hair in this room too, and our board is a lot of that. And so we want to bring the youth in and try and continue the stewardship. That's one of the big hurdles is, and I can see that around here too, is bringing young folks into it. Looking towards the future.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always a big lift. Yeah, one more round of applause. Could be the last speaker of the day, but I appreciate being able to have an in-person speaker as the last speaker of the day, because being a digital speaker as the last speaker of the day is the worst.